Dr. Ribi, thank you very much for having the time to meet me again. Today I would like to talk with you about something that is difficult to talk about. Death dreams, ghost spirits. Jung was an expert, although he didn't write as much as he wanted. He asked Agnella Jeffe to write about it, and she published a book titled Death Dreams and Ghosts. Recently, Derrida in 79 wrote about telepathy. Kant wrote about these issues. So it seems that this issue is very well into society and the scientific world, but it's so difficult to talk about it. What is your thought about this?
Yeah, I don't think that Jung said to Anna Jaffe she should write because he was very hesitant to write about these things because there are so many people who are pretending around, and one doesn't speak in a loud way about these things because these are heavy things and gifts. But it has to be known that this can happen, and always dreams are coming from time to time in such a way to for tell something. I can tell you a case of mine which I published somewhere, but this was the biggest and most uncanny thing. An analyst of mine, he was a physical chemist. So physics and chemist, he was had studied and was working in. Had he analyzed with me for some time already, and his wife, towards Christmas, gave birth of a child, and the child, no, something happened before. The table, the glass table in his living room in the night, and there was no burden on it, was just a glass table, had cracked in the middle. And he told me the dream. He told me the fact that this had cracked. And at this time, his wife gave birth to a child, which died after some days after birth, suddenly, without a reason. And this was a heavy blow. It was the first child, and they wanted this child. They had expected the child. And when we talked about this heavy fact that the child had died, he told me, but the table has cracked. The glass table has cracked. I had a dream. And then he looked up, when was this dream? I had forgotten the dream, and then when he remembered it, he looked it up and told me, we had spoken about this dream. It was a very strange dream that this table in his living room had cracked. And he told me it was like a substance between the two parts which he could a little bit move. And as he was a scientist, he was reckoning what forces, tensions have to be that a table can crack. Not from the force or from above or below, but in the tension of the glass. These incredible forces which it needs. And then he remembered, and I said, look, what date was this dream? And then he looked and said, this and this. And we reckoned. Then his wife gave birth. It is the date of conception. So, in the time of conception of this child, there was already this dream. I discussed this dream because it was so strange with Von Franz, and then she said, yes, cracking of glass is often a sign of death. This was a premonition death, and the unconscious already knew at the time of the conception that this child will not be able to live. And then Von Franz said, how is the marriage of the two? I hadn't asked him, and I asked him then, the marriage was not good. And so Von Franz said, this is probably the reason why the table cracked. The marriage is broken, and therefore the child cannot live. There's too much tension. Because he was a scientist and said, I want the child to be autopsied to see what was wrong. They didn't find anything. Nothing. It was a normal child. And this is always a riddle. One knows in medicine that this immediate death of freshborn children can happen and are very traumatic for the parents. But nobody is looking what are the circumstances around, for instance, the dreams. Here we were happy to have then a collection of dreams. He noted his dreams, and we could go back and look when was this dream and see all these coincidences. And this was the only dream fact I ever experienced in this way, a forecast of the death of the child. But at the time, we didn't understand the dream. What is a cracked glass table? We spoke for a long time, but I didn't know what Von Franz then told me about that glass cracking is often a precognition of death.
Let me share with you something personal, and I feel also a bit embarrassed about it. In November 2004, I received a call, and he's a very dear friend. Actually, my previous flatmate in Berlin. She was at the time in Rome visiting a boyfriend, her new boyfriend. She was very happy. Happy about this new relationship, happy because she just graduated from school, so she was able to step into a new life, job life, and maybe even think of getting married. She then told me that she would take 3 months off to go travel to Asia, especially to Thailand. We had a lovely conversation. I was very happy to hear her good news. When we hung up, I had a feeling of death. I had a feeling I would never meet her again. She died 2 months later, on the 26th of December, because of the tsunami in Thailand. When the wave came, she was walking on the beach with her father. She was caught by the wave. Her father was saved. Her mother was saved. She was found 6 months after in the sea. What is that?
Your intuition was right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my intuition with the death of the dog. But as you see, one wonders, why did you have to know? You were happy with her that she could start the new life with the new acquaintance. But why did you have to know? Why didn't she have to know? Often the meaning is revealed only much later. And I would think if she would have known, she wouldn't have dared to go to Thailand, to make this trip to Asia. In my case, it was also, I had the intuition that something awful will happen, but I had no excuse to cancel the holiday, so I went ahead and had to encounter what it meant. And probably in your case too, was the reason that not she had this intuition of death and was not afraid of going to Asia. She went and met her fate. And I think, and also with the dream I told you before, for the night walk with the dog, we have to not be scared from these intuitions, but to face our fate. We cannot escape. When the self has decided it will be so and so, then if I would have cancelled my holidays, this would have not been of any effect. It would have happened in another way. So we cannot escape. But we have not to be afraid. We have to go. We have to dare. We have to have the courage to go ahead.